You got it.
George Kilpatrick, inspiration for the nation, celebrating people we feel good about. Today begins a month-long series, of months-long conversations with the Syracuse Police Department, going beyond the badge, meeting some of the officers that patrol the streets of the city of Syracuse. We have Officer Richard Solomon in the house. He's here to tell us a little bit about the beat, how he became a police officer, and what the job is like for him. You may have seen him in a recent documentary on WCNY where his work was featured. So, Officer Solomon, good to meet you and good to see you.
Mr. Kirkpatrick, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. And yeah, good to see you too.
So tell me about your background, where you went to school, how long you've been on the force, all that good stuff.
All right. Grew up in FM, suburb of Syracuse. Went to RIT. Couldn't really find the job that I wanted. I always knew I wanted to help people. So I became an EMT, and soon enough I became a certified paramedic in New York State after that. But working in that field, you usually see people at their worst all the time, and you deal with life and death in a different way in that field. And I just thought I wasn't doing enough, so I decided to take the exam to become a police officer, and haven't looked back. It's the best job in the world.
It's interesting you should say that, because I would see that you would have a lot more stress being a police officer.
I mean, there are times, yes, where it's very stressful, and at times life and death, don't mean to sound corny, it's around the corner, but being in the EMS field, emergency medicine, emergency response, it's just a different part of the sandbox, really. And we've had the best training in the world here with the best educators, and it's really prepared me for being on the road.
Yeah, so what's it like being on the road?
Ups and downs, strikes and gutters. It's a roller coaster, really. Every day is a little different. We work in the city atmosphere, so you're not only working in a very diverse culture that you have to engulf yourself in, but there's just different parts of town with different people from different parts of the world, and you kind of have to assimilate yourself into their shoes. Gain a little empathy to see what they're going through, because they're calling you, obviously, because they're not going through a good time.
How hard is that? Because that's probably one of the biggest issues, right? Officers getting to know the communities that they patrol. Often they live other places. And so how do you do that?
Well, first and foremost, it's just being a good person, being a good human being. And I think somewhat subjective, but objectively, I'm here to help you, and I want to help you, and I need the community to know that. And turn it around, they need to know that if they call me, I'm here for them all the time. Whenever they need it, I want to prevent injury, I want to prevent crime, and I want them to have a good experience with the police, because we know in the past it hasn't always worked out that way.
Yeah, trust is a big thing. And I know you said the past, but a lot of people feel like it's still not what they would want it to be.
Yeah, I agree. But that's the world we live in, and it's always changing. And if I could convince someone that I'm there to help them, then so be it. And I will prove every day of my career that I'm there for a good reason, with good intentions, and I'm going to do things the right way.
Yeah, and talking with Officer Richard Solomon, Syracuse Police Department. So how long have you been on the force? I don't know if I asked you that.
You did. I tend to mumble a lot. So I'm coming on 3 years. Graduated 2019. Spoke at my graduation class ceremony, and same reason. Here, I could be vocal. I could speak to you. You could gain understanding of me, and you could tell me where you're coming from, and that's why I like to do this.
What did you say to the class when you were speaking to them?
I said a lot of things, but one of the things I said is that everybody should hold us accountable for what we're doing and how we're doing things, but be ready, because we're doing things for the right reasons, and we're going to prove that to everyone.
certainly, obviously the relationship between police and community, Black communities in particular, communities of color has been difficult over time and continues to be. We saw some of that over the last couple of years, or people feel like it's been going on and you're walking into that. So how do you change that perception? And I know you said you're being a good person, and I am kind of putting you on the spot a little bit. I understand, but you said bring it. So here we are.
Yeah. Well, so I think the main thing I need to realize is that I can't totally understand where everybody comes from. I don't totally understand your culture, how you grew up, how your parents grew up, how they feel or felt their socioeconomic status compared to me, but I could try to put myself in your shoes. I mean, I am white, but I happen to be Jewish as well. And I'm the only, as far as I know, I think I'm the only Jewish person in the entire department.
Really?
Yeah, so I think that's even less than all the African Americans and Spanish speaking and Asian minorities all around. But the important thing is, as you said, is for me to take a second and just talk to somebody. You know, a lot of people say I talk to everybody the same. Well, that doesn't really work. Everybody's different. I'm speaking to you differently than I speak to somebody else. It has to do with trust. It has to do with culture, slang, however you want to work it. I don't want to be a robot just talking to somebody. I'm Officer Solomon. What good is that going to do? I need to bring myself up to your level or wherever you're at, and we need to understand each other. And the only way to do that is to have a good dialogue and actually be emotionally invested as well. So that's how I see it, that we could help.
Being the only Jewish officer on the force, or perceived, right, to be the only Jewish officer in the force, what does that mean to you?
Honestly, it doesn't mean a lot to me. That's just my opinion personally. I came on the force because I want to uphold the law, the Constitution, and I want to help everybody. I don't care your sex. I don't care your race. I don't care your ethnicity. I'm here. I'm under the badge. I'm a person, and I believe I'm a good person. Some of my best friends on the force happen to be Black, and I love them to death. It doesn't matter because we've got the same goal, and that goal is to, well, goals, I should say.
Now, Officer Solomon, when people of color hear some of my best friends are Black, that's not what they perceive as being a good thing. So, but I understand you're sincere. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? When people say this, that's like to say, I'm not this because I have that, right? So, I'm just we're talking real, right?
Sure.
So
I got that.
But that's fair. But just like if I said, well, I'm doing this with some of my best friends, I understand what you're trying to say, but that is an antenna. When Black folk hear that, they're like, uh-oh. So just FYI.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because that's something I didn't recognize or I didn't know. And maybe it comes from a good place, but from your point of view, maybe not so much, right? Kind of like a deflection or something like that.
Right. In other words, my behavior should be, and not to say that you're going to have this behavior, but that my behavior should be excused because this is who I am. But I understand you're not saying that, but this is how it's heard. This is for real. This is how it's heard. And I'm glad you allowed me to share that with you because this is how we grow. This is how we learn together. And I know you seem to be a good fellow, right? And what we want is make sure that we provide you a forum to really share your truth and share your story, right? Because I understand what you're trying to say. So let's talk about the series, what that was on WCNY and what that meant for you.
Well, just like this, it's kind of an inside look of how we act and why we do what we do. And for us, the bottom top, you're talking to patrol officers that are on the street, and then you got to see the chief's point of view, the mayor's point of view, and how we all, try to mesh together to do what we can for the community that we're serving.
And when you think about the calls that you have to go on. When you have a tough call, whether it's a domestic violence, I'm sure those are the toughest, right? Um, how do you decompress from those tough calls?
Well, you kind of you do really invest in it when you're there, because if you don't show that you don't care and you're just there for the job, what's it going to do? If I just tell two people to separate, I'm not attached to it. It doesn't matter. But decompressing is tough, and it's shown in the police field. We have high suicide rates, high divorce rates, very stressful jobs.
High domestic violence rates, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Luckily, I'm surrounded by a great support system. We have a peer support team that I'm actually a part of on the department. And I have my family. I've got a wonderful wife, two great kids. They're tremendous. Sometimes they give me more stress than the job, but
how old are they?
I've got an 8-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son.
Okay.
So really, it's about opening up and talking. I could talk to my peers. I could talk to my wife. I don't want to tell her everything all the time. But even talking to friends, you really have to find some sort of funnel to offload all these stressful human experiences that we're having.
Yeah, and you really seem like you got it together. So, what is Officer Solomon like when he doesn't have the badge on? What does he like to do? What do you like to do?
What do I like to do? Well, obviously, I'm a family man. So sometimes in this crazy world, it's good to have a nice base. Obviously, I'm a big cook. So
Okay.
if you ever want to come over,
something, for some reason, the vibe I got was that you were going to say that. I have no idea why. That is the vibe that I got.
there's a lot of things. I like to make people feel good, but to cook, from earth and get it done and have everybody come together and celebrate and eat, love it. Love it.
All right, so what's your go-to? What can you do? Talk to me.
Oh, I make Utica greens. I cook a good steak. I do lobster. I'm a soup guy too. I try to do it all. I love Asian cuisine. I'll look up some recipe and I'll try to do my version of it. And my kids haven't gotten too sick from it, so it works out.
Nice. And it's also probably therapeutic, would you say, to get in there and create something?
Oh yeah. I mean, even I play sports. It may not look it too. Just being on your own, doing your own thing. I work out, play basketball at times. It's just good you got to get the body right if the mind's going to be right. So cooking, doing things that take time and effort and concentration helps me.
What sports do you play?
So I play basketball.
So have you gone one-on-one with Officer Hanks? Have y'all done that yet? And have you?
I really want those free pair of shoes, so
I've
been practicing. I haven't played him yet, but pre-COVID, I was doing 5-on-5 pickup either in Manlius or here in Syracuse as much as I could.
Oh, you a baller? Okay, I see you.
The ball of monster, man. I love it.
Well, what would you like the community to know about you as you move through and patrol? Do you have a beat? Where do you patrol mostly?
I roam around the north side.
Okay.
So I don't have a specific territory in the north, but I'm all around. And I work Sea Watch, which is 2 p.m. to 10 p.m.
All right. So you see a lot of things going on.
Yeah. And but that's nothing compared to what the person in distress is going through.
Truth.
I just happen to get little bits and pieces of all of it, and they've come to a culmination in their life from whatever choices or not choices to that one single moment. And I just want them to know that while they're going through that, if they want to or need to or whatever it is, I'm here. And we may not see eye to eye, but I'll do my best to help and find a solution.
A lot going on, especially in that part of the town. You know, we've seen some things. And like you said, you just want to resolve, you want to help people get the resolution to the situation as best that you can. At least that's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, and it's tough because we're on the street. So once we're done with that call, we have to go to the next one because the city's so busy.
Mm-hmm.
So if I want to do a follow-up to see how they're doing or to see what part of the process that they're in, it's very difficult to establish that that connection with them. You know, I would love to, like, that's part of community policing that I wish as a whole we were better at. But right now we just don't have the resources to do that. There's a, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and so do you ever have ride-alongs?
I have not had a ride along. That hasn't been because I haven't requested it. I look forward to anybody who wants to ride along.
Right.
Obviously.
See it from your point of view, right?
Please, yeah, that'd be great.
Anything else you would like to let the audience know about you and the work you do with SPD?
I don't know. I'm a pretty simple guy who plays basketball allegedly and cooks. So I'm a nice guy. Said no nice guy ever. No. I love the city of Syracuse. I decided to come back to Syracuse because I feel like this is where my calling was. And I don't care who you are. If you need someone to talk to, if you need someone to help you out with something, then Officer Solomon's here for you.
Officer Richard Solomon, Syracuse Police Department, the first in a series of conversations that we will have to introduce you to the officers of the SPD Beyond the Badge, Inspiration for the Nation. Thank you, Officer Solomon.
My pleasure. Thank you, Mr. Kilpatrick. Have a good one.
Take care.